Happy Monday, everybody. I know that today is going to be rough because any Monday after the weekend is tough, but we got this. So last Friday, I had you guys go through the different home quotes, and I asked you to submit a paragraph to me, just choosing a quote and explaining what it meant to you. And so if you have that, that would be super helpful to pull up from last week and to use in today's assignment. So we're going to move forward in our essays. So you have an essay prompt today that we're going to work with throughout the week, and this will become your second summative grade for the 6 weeks. So here's your prompt. Click on essay prompt, and it says, read the following quotation. Whether we like it or not, we all come from someplace, and at some point in our lives, we have to make peace with that place. So just like the quotes we talked about in last week's assignment, this is kind of something I want you to think about. So think about the following question. Would you be a different person if you grew up anywhere else?
Broncos.
Hold on one second.
Fourth period lunch. If you're heading to
Sorry for that pause. There was announcements. Okay, so we're going to think about, would you be a different person if you grew up somewhere else? And thinking about this idea of home, right? Just something to ponder. And so your prompt says, write an essay explaining one way a place can influence a person. Okay, and close that. So on my example, you're going to do your own pre-writing chart today, but I want you to look at my example. So you have a 3-column chart, and anytime you get a prompt of any kind, you want to think about these 3 different things. These are going to help you in kind of figuring out what you want to write about. And so all of these are from your personal experience and your opinion, so you don't necessarily need to really think too hard about this because you're just relating what you have experienced to the topic. So we're looking at one way a place can influence a person. So the first question is, what have I experienced? So that's your personal connection. So for me, I grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico. The Organ Mountains are really important to me. It's where I decided to get married. And because there really aren't any mountains anywhere around here in San Antonio, it's something that I really look for and cherish when I go back to visit my hometown. My grandmother's house is very important to me. She's passed away. Both grandparents have, but our family still has their house. So obviously nobody can, get rid of that house. We're just not ready yet since, she only passed a couple years ago. But I just recently moved. This house was the first house I've ever lived in. I've only ever lived in apartments, or my mom has a trailer. And so this house I purchased 8 years ago. It was my first house. It was in my name before I got married. So when we moved, because we're building a new house, it was really difficult to let go. It's where I, brought my babies home from the hospital and all of that. So it's got a lot of sentimental value. And the last meaningful place is Disney World because I'm obsessed. And the first time I've ever been there, I only went to Disneyland once when I was 7. So when my daughter, when she was a baby a few years ago, she was really sick and she was in the hospital for a really long time. So the following year during spring break, we decided to take our family to Disney World just to mark, that 1 year of her having improved health and everything. It was the best trip I've ever been on. It's amazing. So that's something that we choose in our family to go back. Obviously, COVID had other plans this year, but as soon as we can go back, we're going. And so the second question is, where have I seen others wrestle with this topic, right? Where have I seen this topic, appear? Sorry about that. In movies, my friends, other family members, poems, other characters in any shows, etc. So where have I seen this idea of a meaningful place and how they influence people? I read A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, and it's basically about how if William Shakespeare had been a woman, none of his plays would have ever happened because women never really had a place to write. They didn't really have a place to go to college. And so essentially not just in applying to women, but all people, right? If you don't have a place to focus, then you won't be as productive as you want, which is why like right now with virtual learning and distance learning, that place matters, right? My daughter's in karate. She's in Jeff Speakman's Kempo 5.0, and that place is very important to us. We've had birthday parties there. My daughter's now blue belt, and it's meaningful. She goes on Saturdays. Everybody's in a mask, but being there is different than working out at home. Morgan's Wonderland is a field trip we went to. That's a meaningful place and influencing people. It's people, donate money to that, but it's also something that promotes inclusion and community for everyone. So that's a really meaningful place here. I would even say in San Antonio. And then school, some people have had positive and negative moments that have shaped their personalities. So that would be something that we can think of. Like we all have meaningful experiences at school, whether we don't like it or whether we like it. And so those were kind of the four different things that I looked at in thinking about how does it affect other people, right? Influencing people. So one thing I could even mention would be to look at how places also are affected right now, right? Like how are places influencing people right now, whether it's the way that they can, think about their health, whether or not, their home has become something that's kind of causing us to be claustrophobic, or maybe something that's like our safe place, whatever you want to think about. And so the last one is, what do I know about this topic? So consider what you know about life, what you know about people, anything that could be relative to anybody. What do these moments teach you? What do these different types of examples show you? So one of the things I said was a place can influence a person by giving us or giving a new perspective on ourselves, right? For sure, me when I moved from my recent house. Same thing for my daughter, right? Same thing with Morgan's Wonderland. And even school, all of our experiences in school, by building a connection within our communities. So that one's kind of specific, right, with Morgan's Wonderland. Even like the communities of people that go to Disney World, that could be something I could use. 3, by inspiring confidence within ourselves. Okay. And 4, by shaping our experiences that define our identities. So those are just different ideas that I was thinking of. But remember, my prompt is asking me for one way. So I don't have to put a lot of things here, right? I just need to think about one thing. What can, we learn when we all have a meaningful place where we can, create and be productive? What especially like working from home and then working there, like how does that influence people and their work production? Or same thing about having a hometown, right? That sense of belonging and community. So down here, I just wrote you a little note. Notice how I worked the chart from left to right and think about what can be learned from the 2 columns to help you think thematically. So move from left to right. And then when you get here, think about what all of these different examples teach us. Okay? So this will be due tomorrow, and we'll take all this information and build it into a good thesis statement so that way we can get started on our outlines as soon as we can. All right, folks, I hope to see you on Zoom, and let me know if you have questions. I'll talk to you later.